Hi, my name is David Weiner. I'm one of the founders of the Likud Anglo division, and we're going to be sitting and speaking a little bit with a member of Knesset, who is the second youngest member of Knesset and the youngest member of the Likud, MK Sharren Haskell, right? Is that right?
Sharren Haskell.
Sharren Haskell. First of all, nice to meet you.
It's a pleasure to meet you too.
So let's get right into it.
And welcome to all of the Anglo viewers of the Likud Party.
So let's get right to it. First thing I would like to ask you is, what do you think about recently, or a few months ago, there was a change in the government in the U.S., as you all know, with Donald Trump coming in, and how do you see that affecting what's actually what goes on here in Israel?
Okay, well, first of all, I'm really relieved. I'm relieved from the new administration because there's a different attitude towards Israel with the new administration. And maybe it's easier to describe it as with the last administration, with the Obama administration, there was more of this approach of I know what's best for you, and I'm going to lead you and teach you and show you the way to what the best solution I think is, or the best future is for you. And that put us in a very a bit of a delicate sort of dynamic and situation, because we didn't agree all the time with that administration. We didn't agree with some of their solution and some of their ways. And so that created certain clashes as well. With the new administration, there's a new kind of approach, which means that I'm going now to I listen to you. I understand that you know what's happening here. I want to help you find a good solution. And let's go side by side and walk together towards finding that solution. We're open to hear what you think about the situation. And that put us in the best position of the administration, understanding that we've lived here for a long time. We understand the situation. We know how to manage it as well. And in order to achieve best result, you have to get the advice of who's experiencing it at the moment. And more so, they're open up to hear things that haven't been heard before. Until now, the only kind of solution that they have seen as the right solution for Israel is the Clinton initiative to resolve the problem between Israel and the Palestinians.
Meaning the Oslo Accords, basically.
It's based on the Oslo Accord, on those principles. And I think that the new administration is now understanding that Oslo has failed, and we're now looking into different kind of solution or approaches towards resolving that as well.
Right, so I think a lot during the Trump campaign, he spoke a lot about, for instance, moving the embassy to Jerusalem, to the capital of Israel, and recently he signed basically the law in the States that exists to move the embassy, but they keep delaying it. So he recently signed a law to delay it to December. Do you see that as maybe kind of foretelling the future of maybe him trying to force upon us anything, or you actually see it as him, what his approach was that he said during the campaign?
I'll tell you what, I believe that Trump is a man of his word. He understands the difficult and complicated situation here in the Middle East. Now, after that he visited it, I think he understands the depth of the complication of that. And in that sense also, I understand that he needs time to figure out things. I do think and believe he's a man of his word, and I think that during his term, he will move the embassy to Jerusalem.
Right, so I actually grew up also in Falsafa a little bit from when I was 2 to 8. And I also experienced what I heard you speak about with Kalkili and everything. And recently there was some, in the news, there's a lot of talk about, and a lot of people coming against what seems like expansion of, in Area C, of Kalkilia specifically, where there's other towns in the area like Falsava as well as Alafei Menashe that are basically under some sort of freeze, especially Alafei Menashe. Do you see what is your perspective on that?
I think that my perspective is that the media has taken it completely out of proportion. We addressed that in our weekly meeting in the Likud party. The Prime Minister said that the numbers are not even close to what was stated in the media.
Which was like 15,000. Right?
Yeah, which is, it's completely out of proportion. And with that as well, there's a lot of authorization of building in different areas around Israel, around that particular area as well, and also in other areas too. He showed us quite a few approval of constructions as well. And so I said, someone else is getting. They've got a lot of interest in putting that out of proportion. So I say, hold on, wait, let's see once everything is out and all the documentation, and then we'll judge it.
So let's go off a little bit different. In Syria, it appears like whatever strategy the U.S. has changed to seems to be making ISIS die down, Daesh, as well known in Israel.
Yeah, and you know how you really know that's what's happening. You can hear the leadership saying, now trying to maneuver the problems towards Israel. They're about to die and they're trying to hold the last sort of flag. We heard the Iranian calling out as well, saying that the problem in Syria is because of Israel. And we heard the comments from Lebanon as well. And so I would be worried that they're going as a desperate step to come and try and leak those fighting towards Israel from different fronts. I think that the more we hear those leaders calling towards that, the more we understand they're about to end it and finish it and trying to get it on a different kind of agenda.
So you think Iran, with the possible vacuum that could be created, would actually come in through Iraq and actually take over parts of Syria, and they already have a stronghold in Lebanon.
We know that that's Iran's plan. Right. I mean, I think they have. News. Yeah, it is old news. I mean, we have a few they have a few proxies in the region. They've got now Lebanon, Syria, Iraq, Yemen. I mean, you understand where that's going, and they're the one who are the catalyzer in the whole conflict around our area as well. And they stating it. They want to lead the Arab world. And I'm sure they'll do a lot to get there. We know that it's a cruel regime, a very violent regime. I'm glad that us as Israel, we've got the ability to defend ourselves against them and attack them as well if needed. But it can be extremely dangerous for those other countries around the Middle East, and they're seeking for help and for security as well.
Do you believe that's part of the reason why, for instance, when Donald Trump was in Saudi Arabia, they signed a huge,
absolutely,
as Donald Trump likes to say, huge amount of money?
Yeah.
What do you think that actually does with the relations with us? Does it improve it? Does it make it worse? Most of that money almost like to go to military technology.
Well, I can tell you that those countries are seeking for someone to defend them. They understand of what Iran is trying to create around their region, and they're scared, and rightfully. So they're seeking now the defense of the states. Unfortunately, before it had let them down with the nuclear agreement with Iran. It failed. It failed not just Israel. We weren't the only one who were disappointed from it, but also these countries who understand the gravity of danger that they are going to face as well. And so in that sense, yes, they're seeking for protection, they're seeking for cooperation, for security cooperation with different countries. You can
Recently, there was in Germany there was anti-Semitic marches. I believe in UNESCO there was also a recent vote regarding I think today regarding Hebron, and there seems to be a lot of rise in anti-Semitism over the world. And I think it's something that's very touching to people that are English speakers from all over the world. What is your perspective on what people like your predecessor Danny Danon is doing now in the UN or Israel doing in order to combat all those things?
This is a fight that our people have been fighting for generations. It didn't just have started yesterday or 2 years ago or 5 years ago. This is a war about people who are trying to change our history, to change who we are. And we've experienced that so many times throughout history. I mean, think about it. If these people, these anti-Israeli organizations and people will be able to eliminate or disconnect the relationship between the Jewish people and the land of Israel, then what do we do here? It will be as easy to move the Jewish people from the Middle East to Europe or to North Africa or to America or South America, right? I mean, if we don't have a long historical connection to this land, a long traditional, cultural, religious, that is binding us to this land with every inch of our body, soul, mind, identity, then we don't have anything to do here. I mean, it will be as easy to create a new state anywhere else. And that's the real fight that we're fighting now. By them trying to change our history and our heritage, they believe that they'll be able to disconnect us from this land. Otherwise, why would they do that? I mean, what you hear with UNESCO, which is the body that's in charge of preserving and guarding historical sites, archaeological sites, traditions, and cultures, they're meant to protect them. And that's the body who's trying to change or eliminate our religion, our culture, our archaeological sites.
History, yeah.
Absolutely. This is a war about our history. This is the same thing in declaration about the United States Security Council that admits the relation between us and Judea and Samaria. About the, Abu Mazen's trying to sue now Britain for the Balfour Declaration, right? Trying to reverse everything. But I can tell you one thing. We didn't start fighting that yesterday. We've been fighting years for generations. It's our generations, our parent generations, our grandparents, and it goes all the way back to thousands of years. And they didn't defeat us then, and they will not defeat us now.
Okay, so I would like to ask you about what what you believe your most your biggest accomplishment has been since you've come into the Knesset, as well as what you look forward to trying to accomplish in the future, to actually get done for the country.
Wow. There is so much that I want to achieve and accomplish for my country and for my people. And so I think that even in like half an hour of an interview, I won't be able to describe it. And I've got plans.
That's a good thing.
Yeah. But I think some of the most beautiful thing that I've accomplished is there's a little certificate there, which is it's a certificate about me winning for the third time in a row the first place in the Liberty Index. This is a sort of a scale where they count parliament members' votes and legislations that are to do with individual liberties and economical freedom and liberties. And the first 2 times I received this award, I was sort of struggling to win against Bezalel Smotrich. And this time I actually won within a long gap. And this is something that I'm extremely proud in these achievements, because most of my legislations are legislation to eliminate legislations. In order to eliminate a law or regulation or bureaucracy, you've got to put a law in action. And so these are most of my legislations. And all of my votes, I take them really seriously as well.
So do you think in that case that someone like Moshe Feiglin, who was a libertarian, he was one of the biggest libertarians in the Knesset when he was in the Knesset, do you think it's a shame that he left the Likud and stopped the fight that he was putting forward, for instance, to legalize the use of cannabis for medicine and stuff like that?
I'll tell you what, I think it is a shame that Feiglin left the Likud movement. For two main reasons. I think that also in the Likud party we need to have as much of a diverse members of Knesset as we have, because this is the only party that really represents the general public. And we have such a diverse community in beliefs and ideology and thoughts and backgrounds. This is something important. This is part of what makes us such a big party. And the other thing is that I think it's not good to have as many parties as we have. We have to fight for our ideology on two major parties, or maybe major four parties. We don't need 34 parties to run in the general election. I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous. And so for me, it's a shame, because I would want to think that Feiglin also understands the necessity of stability in having 2 or 4 major parties that would lead Israel into the future.
Great. Well, it was very nice to meet you. We look forward to speaking with you again in the future.
Thank you very much. I'll be more than happy to come and speak to the members of the Likud party, the Anglo Likud.